Hey everybody, and thanks for watching another episode of The Other 99. Today we take a look at a mono-black deck commanded by Seizan, Perverter of Truth, and built by viewer Sure Why Not. Seizan is a 6/5 for 5 that forces every player at the table to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life at the beginning of their upkeep. But wait, isn't that bad, even if they're losing life in the process? Well, this guy puts a clock on you and your opponent, speeding up the game. The rest of this deck is designed with cards to amp up the pressure and chip away at your opponent's life totals, forcing their clocks to move faster than yours. Because you're forcing opponents to draw cards, you have to make sure they don't get to keep anything too powerful. Hymn to Turok, Thoughtseize, Inquisition of Kozilek, Duress, Despise, and Cry of Contrition. They all serve the same purpose. They make the opponent discard. This prevents threats and gives you the edge right away. Rotting Rats, Hypnotic Spectre, and Liliana Spectre are all cheap sources of discard on a body. Scythe Spectre makes each of your opponents discard a card and then makes one of them lose life for discarding that card that was too expensive to cast. Siphon Mind is great because it causes a huge shift in card advantage and works well with the rest of the deck. Gnat Miser and Locust Miser serve to tighten that squeeze on the opponent's hand and further make Seizan's ability more a burden than a benefit. Liliana of the Veil is an early source of hand disruption or control. It helps to have other ways besides Seizan to force cards into people's hands. Teferi's Puzzle Box is used to amplify the damage received by Underworld Dreams and makes Chains of Mephistopheles even more frustrating. It more importantly makes opponents gain much less from drawing a lot of cards since they're constantly cycling them around and around. Howling Mine and Font of Mythos amplify the amount of cards drawn, forcing opponents to dig through their deck faster than they want. Bloodgift Demon lets you pick on someone in a non-combat way and lets you change your victim at any time. In addition, if for some odd reason you aren't drawing enough cards, you can use him to give you a boost. Chains of Mephistopheles. Now, wait. What does this card do exactly? Let's go ahead and break it down. If a player would draw a card at any time other than the usual draw step, they will instead replace that draw by discarding a card from their hand. If they are able to do so, then they draw a card. If they can't, they mill the top card of their library. They have no choice in the matter. They have to discard a card if they have one, and if they don't, they'll mill. Chains would normally ensure that no one would want to draw extra cards, but this deck forces them to, which will cause Chains to rapidly chew away at an opponent's libraries and hands. Even though Seizan speeds up the game by dealing damage to your opponents and forcing them to draw cards, the deck needs a few other ways to keep the pressure on. Psychosis Crawler becomes a huge source of damage both in combat and when you draw cards. Soren Markov can ruin an opponent's day, pure and simple. He's also a great answer to decks with a lot of life gain, which give this deck a problem. Blister Grub may only be a 2/2, but with Urborg out, he's unblockable, and when he dies, he makes everyone lose a bit more life. Forsaken Wastes is a nice safety blanket against any life gain deck that would try to negate all the damage you've done. Megrim and Liliana's Caress. You're making your opponent's discard, and these cards make it painful. Underworld Dreams. This card will steadily pick away at your opponent's life total on its own, but when combined with Seizan and the other cards in this deck, it will mean a lot of damage. Mind Crank combines with all the other sources of damage in the deck to make your opponents mill a lot of cards, and is an infinite combo with Bloodchief Ascension. Bloodchief Ascension works like Underworld Dreams, Megrim, and Liliana's Caress in that it adds damage to this deck's main trick, Hand Disruption. What makes this card great is that it can be played early on, it's easy to put counters on, and once it's active, it means more life loss for your opponents and life gain for you, widening the life total gap. Pox should put at least one person on the brink of losing. Just be careful, because a poorly timed Pox could mean you'll be the one killed. Oppression hurts you too since you'll have to discard, but your deck is built around making your opponents discard even more. Baneful Omen deals a lot of damage to every opponent and could end up killing someone. Painful Quandary. This card makes your opponents discard and lose a lot of life, so making them choose between the two isn't fun for them. Wound Reflection cuts the work this deck has to do in half. You don't want your deck to kill you too, so here are some cards that make up for all the damage you're dealing to yourself. Siphon Soul. In a similar way to Siphon Mind, it causes a shift, but this time in life. Subversion is like having a mini Siphon Soul every turn. Polluted Bonds is like an unbalanced Anka Mishra that gains you life. Sangromancer will have both its abilities used throughout the game, but getting 3 life every time an opponent discards will put you well out of kill reach. This deck will make you a huge target, and these cards will keep your opponents from firing at that target. Hissing Miasma. Against this deck, everyone already is running on a short clock. With this out, the only way they can attack you is by shortening that clock even more. No Mercy makes dealing damage to you unfavorable for your opponents. Grave Pact also makes swinging at you unfavorable, since everyone will lose a creature if they do. This deck plays its fair share of removal, tutors, and other utility. Sensei's Divining Top, Soul Ring, and Lightning Greaves. Filter cards, make mana, and protect your general. Nothing new to see here. Pawn of Ulamog. Anytime something you have dies, you get a chump blocker, a source of mana, and if you have Grave Pact, a way to really frustrate your opponents. Diabolic and Demonic Tutor. In a format with 99 cards, finding what you want is pretty powerful. Liliana Vess is a tutor that also doubles as discard, which makes her a perfect fit for this deck. Bloodghast is a constant source of damage. Contamination is the Black Blood Moon, and if you have Bloodghast or Bitter Blossom, keeping this enchantment out is easy. Ill-Gotten Gains. With the enchantments this deck has, discarding an entire hand can kill someone, not to mention you can get back your most annoying cards. Beacon of Unrest lets you use the creatures or artifacts your opponents discard against them, plus it's reusable. Praetor's Grasp lets you nab a card you don't want your opponents playing and exile it, and if it's black or colorless, you can add Insult to Injury and play it yourself. Shriekmaw is great as it can be a kill spell early game or a beater late game. Siphon Flesh causes a shift like the other Siphon cards, but this time in creatures. Black Sun Zenith is a reusable way to control the board. Necropotence. In a game where you have 40 starting life, a card like Necropotence is pure card advantage, not to mention it's extremely unfair if you have chains out. Beaters and win cons, for when other game plans just aren't enough. Ob Nixilis. The more non-combat damage he ends up dishing out, the better beefcake he becomes for combat damage. Grave Titan and Phyrexian Obliterator deal craploads of damage, and provide numerous other threats with their abilities. Sewer Nemesis. You pick the opponent you want to kill first, and Sewer Nemesis will help you do that much faster. Bitter Blossom provides evasive tokens. It's a source of damage and pressure at any time in the game. Zombie Infestation. If you don't need a few of those cards you keep drawing, but need a beater or a blocker, boom, you've got one. Scythe of the Wretched isn't a beater, but it makes Seizan a good source of general damage, and lets you steal blockers from your opponents. Tombstalker is a big beater, simple as that. With all the self-discarding you'll be doing as well, this dude will be very cheap to play. Exsanguinite is a bomb. You pour mana into it, and it will cause a huge shift in life, and might even kill an opponent or two. And finally, for the deck's lands. Lake of the Dead, Shizo Death Storehouse, Scrying Sheets, Vesuva, Cabal Coffers, Undiscovered Paradise, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Spawning Pool, Barren Moor, and 24 Snow-Covered Swamps. And now for the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. For its strengths. It speeds up otherwise slow games of Commander. Most of the deck is devoted to dealing damage whenever possible, which adds up. All of your opponents will be losing life at about the same time, which makes it easier to kill several people at once. All the advantage your opponents would gain from drawing extra cards is negated by discard. And for its weaknesses. It will draw a lot of hate. Decks completely dedicated to life gain will give you a hard time. The deck can kill you as well if you're not careful. And fast aggro decks can take advantage of your self-inflicted life loss. You should play this deck if you like your commander games to go faster or feel that other ones go too slow, you enjoy brutal black discard and or life drain decks, you're looking for a risk and reward style gameplay, you love generals that can hold their own and play an important role in your deck, you want to play a black deck that isn't a control deck with tons of mana ramp. Thanks for watching this episode of The Other 99. If you're looking to speed up some of the games in your local playgroup, or maybe even looking to do something pretty mean with your decks, sure why not Seizan may just be the right direction for you. For next time, vote on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for either Edric Snake Tribal, Arcanus Legendary Creature Control, or a Jasmine Boreal themed deck. I'm Carson from Top Go Productions, and as always, thanks for watching.